Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I have just been having so much fun on this channel. While this is a new channel, I have had a couple different YouTube channels for a while now that are aspects of my business. They're where these other YouTube channels that I have are where a really good chunk of my husband and I's clientele for our business comes from, if that makes sense. So I've been making YouTube videos on those channels, and I still am, for a long time. But this particular channel is still new, and I've been having so much fun because I have had it on my heart for so long now to just sit down and discuss and talk about things that really matter. I feel like I'm not in the middle of the camera. I'm like off to the side, but just ignore that. But I have had it on my heart for so long to be able to just sit down and talk about things that really actually matter, to me at least, and hopefully to you guys, with you guys. And I guess you could say just to share heart things, to talk about heart things. That has really been on my heart. And that's really what I've been doing on this channel, is just sharing what I'm learning, what the Lord's been teaching me, how I've been growing, and things that actually matter to me. Not that business and what I talk about on my other channels doesn't matter, because those things matter too in a different way, but you know what I'm saying. All that to say, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell. What are you doing? I come on here every week with new videos, so make sure you don't miss anything. Today's video topic seemed a little random to me at first, but it is not random. There are some important things we are going to be talking about today, and I'm going to be sharing some of the most important aspects of this at the very, very end. I'm saving them for the very last, so be sure to stay tuned until the end. This is not going to be one of those videos where you just listen to the first bit to get the whole stuff out of it. Something that was brought to my remembrance a few days ago, because I had forgotten about this, was the fact that only a few years ago, I could not go as a stay-at-home mom. Yes, I run a business as well, but I'm at home. I am basically also a stay-at-home mom, okay? I could not go a whole day. I could not even go half a day being at home without leaving the house, without going stir crazy. I had to be going places, doing things, leaving the house. Like, I hated, completely hated the days where I was at home as a mom. I hated those days. Being at home all day or even half the day, I could not stand them. And I was reminded of this a few days ago, and I think it's so crazy because I remember a day in particular, maybe 6 months ago or so now, where my daughter and I were having one of those days, like we have a lot now, intentionally, actually, where we were at home all day. We had not left the house once. We were at home from morning to night, and we were both so full of joy, so full of peace, so content. And it was actually, I remember thinking on this particular day, I was thinking, wow, this is like one of my favorite days we've ever had. This is so much fun. I want more days like this. I really got to thinking, what changed? What made the change? Because how could I have gone from literally hating being at home all day? And it's not like I wasn't with my daughter all day. I didn't want to not be with her. I just didn't want us to be at home. How did I go from that to loving our days at home? And I was really thinking about it, and there wasn't just one thing that made the change. There was a really good handful of things that made that change. So that's one of the reasons why you can't just listen to this first point, this first tip. There's going to be kind of a diverse mixture of things, a whole bunch of things, and you're going to have to listen to all of them all the way through. I really do believe. But I'm going to share with you guys what changed, because maybe this can help you and bless you as well in some way. This is actually one of the reasons why I thought homeschooling would not work for me. It would not work for my family, my daughter, me, myself especially. I really thought it wouldn't work for me. A big part of it was me. And by the way, I did a video recently sharing why my mind changed, why I went from my entire life, even before I was ever a mom, I always said I will never homeschool, to now my mind has completely changed on it. I did a video about that, sharing all those details on my channel. So go find that after you watch this one all the way through. You can find that on my channel. But this was actually one of the reasons why I truly felt like homeschooling wouldn't be right for me, because I hated being at home. I blamed it a lot on my personality. I really thought I'm just an extroverted person. I need to be out and about seeing people all day. I am not a homebody. And while that hasn't necessarily changed, I am still somebody who has a high social need and likes to be around people and gets filled up by being around others. And I still am very much, I would say, not a homebody. I've never been a homebody. But with that being said, I truly cherish, love, and intentionally now put into my schedule on a consistent basis these staying at home all day days. Now, when life gets busy with friendships, family, friends, relationships, all the activities my daughter's involved in, and my husband and I's business, and all of the other things that happen in life. When life gets busy with all those things, I am now intentional to actually put these days where we are home morning to night on my schedule on a consistent weekly basis on purpose, because I not only enjoy them and they make me happy now, but I see the value in them, but I also think that they're really good for my daughter now, and she really enjoys them as well. So let's just take it from the top and talk about the things that have changed. I do not have a schedule necessarily. I do not run my day as a schedule in the sense that at 9 o'clock in the morning, my daughter and I are doing addition and subtraction. And then 9:30, we're doing this. And then 10 o'clock, we're out on a walk. Like, I don't have a schedule in that sense. I do have daily rhythms, loose rhythms that are flexible still. There's lots of room for flexibility, but we do have consistent daily rhythms and routines in our days, especially these at home all day type of days. And while I'm somebody who really resists routine, structure, I like freedom and literally every aspect of our lives, being an entrepreneur and running businesses from home, homeschooling my daughter, everything is from home and in our own time. We make our own schedule. And while we do that on purpose, we love that lifestyle. It is a very, very beautiful thing if you ask me. But having rhythms and routine has brought so much freedom, actually. It's brought more freedom, more time freedom. And I'll explain what that looks like for us. I'll explain our routine and schedule and rhythm right now while it has changed and evolved. And if you ask me about it in a year from now, it'll probably look different because it'll probably change and evolve by then. This is just what's working for us right now. And then I'll explain a little bit more of the why behind it. I know my priorities. I know my goals, and I know my priorities and what matters most to me, what's most important to me. And I make sure that we are doing those things in the morning. I'll explain why and what I mean by that and all of the things. In the morning, we kind of have this morning routine. I wake up, I read my Bible, I move my body in some way. Either it is a 15 minutes Pilates video, or I go on an hour-long walk, whatever we have time for that day and whatever makes sense. But I move my body in some way, even if it's just short and sweet. And then we start our school time. I do school time with my daughter in the morning. I read to my daughter in the morning because that is one of the ways that I believe parent and child bond. That's a great thing for the parent-child relationship. We do our school time, whatever it looks like that day. I read to her. I will maybe spend like 20 minutes or so playing with her, intentionally having that one-on-one time. I like to do all those things before lunch, and then I'll explain what it looks like after lunch. But the reason I like to do those things before lunch is because those are my priorities, or what I say are my priorities and my values. Getting into the word, moving my body somehow, having one-on-one intentional time with my daughter every day, and making sure my daughter and I get her school time done for the day. Getting all those things done first and foremost before lunchtime or so brings me a lot of peace. They don't always happen in the same order. We are flexible with the order that things go in, but I know those are things I want to do at some point in the morning. I'm able to have peace the rest of the day because I know I have taken care of my top priorities, the things that mean the most to me and are most important to me in my mind. What I will do is the night before, I will write down every single thing I want to accomplish or get done and make sure happens the next day on a piece of paper. For example, I will include even what I want to do for a workout, even though I don't dedicate a ton of time to working out. However, I want to move my body that day. I will write that down. I will write down whatever my daughter and I will be doing for her homeschool time that day. I will write down the specific subjects, lessons, things that we will be doing. I will write down whatever things, if any, I need to or want to get done for my business that day. And we'll get to how I work and do business stuff in just a little bit here. But I will write all those things down on a piece of paper the night before. And then I know those things are gonna get done. They might not always happen in the same order. Usually we stick with that order. However, I am flexible. This morning, I was gonna do something else first, but my daughter was so happy and content building a fort, and she really wanted to listen to this like kids podcast in her fort. And so I was like, you know what? You're content doing that. And so I'll let you continue to do that. We will push back what we were going to do next just a little bit further so you can continue to enjoy your fort right now, since you're like in this like beautiful imaginative play zone. And while you're doing that, I'm going to take the opportunity to cross off something else on my list, because I had that list and I knew what I needed to do the night before. So I will take advantage of that time, if that makes sense. So we will move things around sometimes, but we do know what we need to tackle and get done the night before. After we do lunch, and again, this isn't like time constricted. This isn't like at the same time, but it's a general rhythm, flow of things, time block of things that we want to get done on our at home all day long days. After lunch, I start what I call my work time block. I'm very grateful and blessed to where my work is not the type of work that most of the time, I do not have to do this at a certain time. It is very in my own time, when and how I want to do it. And so I've created a work time block for myself, because while my biggest priority right now is pouring into my daughter, disciplining, training, homeschooling her, our relationships, my marriage, our friendships, my home, all those things are the most important things to me. But I still have really big, I believe, God-given goals and dreams and desires and things that I believe he wants to do through me that are part of my business. But I also know I don't want to be sending my daughter off all day to be away from me so that I can work on these things. So I have created a time block, a work time block. I don't feel guilty doing this because I know I have spent intentional one-on-one time with my daughter. I've given her my undivided attention. We have done school together. We've read together. We've played together. So now she can have some time playing alone, which I feel like sometimes as parents, we feel bad for our kids if they're playing alone. It's actually healthy for kids to play alone, not with their parent, not even with other kids, alone. There have been so many studies that show it is actually really good for kids' brains to play alone. So while we sometimes look at them and we're like, oh, poor little Charlie over there, he's all by himself. No, it's actually developmentally really good for them to play alone. But I don't feel bad about this time because I've already done all those things previously in the day, one-on-one, undivided attention time with her. So my work time block begins, and she has, let's just say 30 minutes or so to have quiet time. I know a lot of families that will do an hour. I know some that even do 2 hours of quiet time. You got to do what works for you and your family. This will probably change if you ask me in, a year from now, because we're constantly editing and improving and evolving our rhythms in our life as our life changes, because life comes in seasons and every season looks different. But right now, this is what works for us just at her age and development stage. So we will have about 30 minutes or so of quiet time. What that means for us, you could call it quiet time, independent play time, independent learning time, whatever you want to call it. My daughter knows this is her time to play on her own, use her imagination. She can read books to herself during this time or just look at books. She can do activity books for school, fun activity books, listen to an audiobook on her CD player, listen to a Tony, draw. There's so many things she can do. Basically, it's just a calm, independent, alone learning / playing quiet time for her. Okay, so this time block starts. When the timer goes off and this time block is over, then she will have about an hour or so of TV time. So we don't let her just turn on the TV at any time of the day. This is like the designated screen time of the day for us, at least right now. Again, this could change in the future, but this is what works for us right now. And so I have, from the time that independent playtime starts until that hour or so of TV time ends, the timer goes off, the TV goes off, and I'm done with my work. I put it away and save it for the next day. So I have that whole time block to work. Some days I don't do work during that time. However, like I said earlier, there are dreams and goals that God has put in my heart, and I like to use that time to the best of my ability as much as I can to be my goal getting, working on my dreams, growing my business time, like, if that makes sense. And so this really honestly helps me as a stay-at-home / working from home a little bit mom, because here's the thing. I don't feel guilty about working because I'm spending the time being intentional with my daughter, giving her that undivided attention, pouring into her in the morning, making sure the most important things get done in the morning because that comes first right now. But I still get to work on my dreams, which I think it's something that as a stay-at-home mom, especially if you have really big goals and dreams and businesses in your mind and your heart that you feel called to grow from the Lord, yes, it's growing a little slower maybe because you're not spending all day on it, but that's okay. This is the season of life you're in. It gives you that time. So I know I'm still working on my goals and my dreams, even though it is minimal. I'm still working, steady, plotting, slowly growing my goals and dreams and the things that God has put into my heart, if that makes sense. This routine and structure allows me to be fully present with my daughter when I'm with her, whether we're just reading books together or we're doing school time together or I'm playing with her, because all those things I think are important to do. No, if I'm doing one of those things, I'm able to give her my full attention, and I don't feel guilty for not working, for not growing my businesses, for not growing the things God's put in my heart. But it also allows me to have a little bit of time either every day or at least a few times a week to be working on my dreams, my goals, the businesses and goals that God has put in my heart to do, and do that and not feel guilty, because I know my daughter has been poured into and I've had lots of undivided attention time with her, and now she's doing something that's good for her, one of those independent activities, you know what I mean, that's good for her brain and all of that. So this structure and routine has brought so much peace and clarity to my life. A few other things that I have done that I think have made a little bit of a difference in this, taking me from not being able to stay at home to loving being at home, loving these days where we're at home all day long as a mom. I have a closet that is filled with boxes. These boxes basically only come out during designated times. Nice and organized, decluttered, beautiful looking boxes that are things that are not out all the time. So my daughter doesn't have access to them all the time, which definitely helps make, obviously, you know, for kids, anything that's not out all the time is so much more exciting and fun. When these things are put away and only taken out during designated times, I found that they're appreciated and enjoyed a lot more. These boxes are things like a box of art supplies, a box of painting supplies, a box of cutting and pasting supplies, a box of necklace making supplies like beads and string and whatever you use to make necklaces. And there's so many ideas. There's so many cool things on Amazon nowadays. By the way, if you want ideas for this type of thing, I have plenty of ideas on my Amazon storefront. You can click the link below, and under the list Homeschool, I have so many ideas for this type of thing. So definitely check that out. But these are really helpful. These are things that at some point during the day, I will take out one of these boxes. We'll either sit at the kitchen table and do them. I'll put down a towel so there's no paint on the kitchen table if we're painting or something like that. Or I'll even take them outside sometimes, put a towel down on the deck, and we'll do them on the deck if it's a nice day. And I'll make my daughter and I a cup of date hot cocoa and put on some calming music or even a kids podcast that she likes, and we will just do this activity together, or she'll do the activity while I do whatever else. And it's just a nice thing to have in your back pocket to help your day go a little bit better, help have a little, to I guess give you a little bit of a break during that long at home all day. Okay, so the next thing that I believe really helps is keeping a minimal home. There have been so many studies that show that when you have clutter, it affects your brain. And I know for me, if a house has a bunch of clutter, I don't want to be there. My house is very minimal, to be completely honest. I have the essentials. We do not have a ton of extra stuff. And this even makes keeping it clean so easy. I know for me, applying these things that I have applied have caused there to be very, very, very few hard days, to be completely honest, and absolutely love being at home. And I can truly, truly say that staying at home with my daughter, homeschooling my daughter, running my business from home, all these things is literally a dream life. I guess the biggest takeaway from this is having a routine slash schedule. I don't even want to say schedule, routine, rhythm. Rhythm is the right word. A daily rhythm with your family. Yes, there are days when we get invited to go to the splash pad and get a coffee, and our routine goes out the window and we end up doing whatever we were going to do in the morning later in the day. But that's the beautiful thing about running your business from home, working for yourself, being an entrepreneur, and homeschooling. Those things can be done anytime for the most part. Obviously, you know, there's things that have to be done, like time is of the essence. But for the most part, I can work after I put my daughter to bed, and we can do school time the hour or two before bedtime if we want. Like, don't put yourself in a box. Like, the world is your oyster. We still get out of the house, but now we not only do those things, but we also really cherish and enjoy those days where we're at home all day. And all those things I shared made the biggest difference. And the last thing that I will say is we get to choose our thoughts. We choose our thoughts. This is something I constantly need to remind myself of. We actually get to choose what we think about. We are not just a victim to whatever the heck pops into our brain. What are you thinking about this season that you're in? How can you replace that thought with something else and renew your mind with what the Word of God says about your situation? And the biggest way to do this, that's helped me is gratitude. Renewing your mind with gratitude and just becoming extremely outwardly grateful for every single aspect of your life, and especially for the time you get at home with your kid, whatever it is that you're doing. There's a lot of things that I'm doing in my life, from mom things, pouring into my daughter, but also my business too, are both the kind of thing where you put in the work, but you don't see the results for a while. And just knowing we don't necessarily see the fruit in the moment, but what you're doing, if you do it, especially if you do it as unto the Lord in excellence to the best of your ability, and it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to do anything perfectly. Just coming to God and giving Him what we have to work with and letting Him make up for the rest, because we aren't called to be perfect. Just knowing you will see the fruit, knowing the fruit will come later, is a very beautiful thing. So anyway, I feel like I'm just rambling now, but thanks for hanging out with me, guys. As always, I never want these videos to just be me blabbing on. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to get to know you on the other end of this. Let me know where you're watching from, where you're at in your journey with all of what we just talked about, what advice you have for me. Let me know in the comment, and the other viewers, let me know in the comment section. I love to chat with you guys over there, and I'll see you soon.